Come, build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers. We don't just sell materials, we help you build your dreams. Whether it's a new home, a renovation, or a DIY project, we're here to make it happen. That's why we say, build with us. From foundation to finish, come to our stores where we have the best in building materials, hardware, tools, paints, expert advice, and more. Whatever you need, you can count on us. So if you're ready to get started, build with us. With Hostels Building and Nevis Centers, you're not just building a structure, you're building a future. Let us help you create something amazing. Dream with us, plan with us, grow with us, build with us. Come build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers today. Build with us at Hostels.
And a pleasant good day to you and yours. The time is approximately 13 minutes moving away from the 8 o'clock hour. And let me welcome you to another presentation of Island Tea. And as you know, whenever you hear my voice first off, you know that Hortensia won't be in today, but most likely she will be in tomorrow. Well, where do we start? So much happening around the world, so much to think about, and that isn't taken into consideration our daily existence, the ability to survive even in your own country, island, village, whatever. Add all of that to the extended world problems, and life itself can be sometimes a daunting thing if you look without some level of optimism. So, as I often refer to myself as a let me see if I can make sure that I word it properly, as a can't really bring it to mind right now. But anyway, just say that you're going to find ways to survive, okay? And if you feel like giving us a call and sharing your bit as to how you see things, whether it be social, economic, your personal, whatever perspective, feel free to do so. I'm going to start with a clip that makes a statement. And that statement has been touted around the world a lot recently as it regards the United States of America. And that statement says that the United States has declared war on civilization. It would seem so. And a lot of the repercussions happening even in the US of A itself, a lot of pundits and analysts and critiques and so forth would say they are self-inflicted wounds, because none of this had to happen. The world was moving mostly along, and it was not perfect, not anywhere near perfect, but it was going along, and then individuals just decided to throw a wrench in and mess things up. So listen to this clip.
One of the goals of the Donroe Doctrine has so far been visible in Venezuela. What message does that send beyond Latin America, and why should Africa care about a doctrine focused on the Americas?
Donald Trump's idea is quite different. He says that the U.S. has complete domination over the entire Northern Hemisphere. And that is quite different. And you can't just push that aside as some sort of subtlety. He's doing away with international law. And yes, he's going to realpolitik. But realpolitik, in this instance, represents the law of the jungle. It repudiates everything that the United States did post-World War II in setting up institutions that were supposed to protect against these very kinds of predations. So right now, why is Venezuela, of course, they were illegally ordered their president taken away. And that's a big thing. And why would Africa care or the rest of the world? It's because the United States has declared war on civilization. They're going to take anything that they can, including Greenland, by force if necessary, according to Donald Trump. They have their eye on others in terms of what that means for all of the countries of the world. It means you should be afraid. There are no stops. And if you think for one instant that if Donald Trump or his ilk were to gain control of the Western Hemisphere, that they would stop there, you're wrong. You know, that old saying goes, they came for my neighbor, I said nothing. They came for my friend, I said nothing. They came for me, and there was no one to say anything. And this is exactly what the world needs to stand up to. The only way you can stand up to a bully who does not respect the law is to have the countries come together in an overwhelming force, not to create another organization, a new UN. They could kick the US out, I could understand that. But they should come together and just simply say to Donald Trump, what you do with your people, if you want to put tariffs on them, that is fine. That is between you and your voters. But you will not put the rest of the world into some sort of sick colonial game where you pit us against each other for your favor. That is not the way it should work. And it's not human. It is not a way that's productive. It's not sustainable.
Yeah. And every time I listen to clips like those and I hear the rhetoric, the utterances, I ask myself, don't our Caribbean leaders listen to these things? Don't they listen to things happening around the world? But then again, maybe not, because you've heard a lot of them saying recently, well, I only deal with what happens here, you know. I'm not concerned. I didn't vote for Trump. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. And as if though the rest of the world, what happens in the rest of the world does not impinge on what happens to us. As you heard that individual saying, the entire world, the entire globe will have to do what? Come together. What does coming together mean? Unity. And we've been touting this over and over and over to our Caribbean leaders, and they just don't seem to get it. Hello, caller.
Grand Rising, Quint.
Yep. Good day to you, Johnny.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I'm doing great. Now, Quint, you know, the clip you just played, right? And when we look at what America is doing, I tend to reflect on Daniel chapter 11. Now, Quint, we have a oh my God, sometimes I get difficulty pronouncing this word, narcissistic, or
narcissistic.
You know, this word, narcissistic
Yes.
character here, Quint. And let us make no mistake, Quint, their time is up. And if they cannot have, well, no other will. And this is what is being displayed here. But let us go to Daniel chapter 11, Quint. The dragon has been wounded, and 3 kings of the north. We need to ask ourselves now, who is the 3 kings that are going to rise? The clip you played, the narrator is saying, where does Africa play out in all of this? Now let us look at Europe and America in their population compared to the growth of the continent of Africa with the youth, Quint. Are we paying attention to these developments? Africa is growing while Europe and America is dying. Look at the age group of the Europeans and their population compared to the growth of our continent. And this is why Journey is saying, Quint, the clarion call has been sounded. This is a spiritual awakening for the youths who are now informed. I'm referring to African youths globally, Quint. Because you see, information was stifled. And in as much as they gave us their literature in a book, Quint, Journey is saying that the book hides more than what it reveals. As some people have said, the truth is hidden in plain sight. Well, it's high time we wake up and recognize the mystery from the misery. They gave us misery to keep us passive. Today, the scriptures are being fulfilled, Quint. Make no mistake about it. Where does we fit into these scriptures? As the clip you played asked the question, where is Africa in all that is going on? Well, Africa is the new earth, Quint. Africa is the present and the future for all Africans globally. But where are we, Quint? We are still divided and we are still being manipulated through fear and by the guns and all the sanctions. Now, I said a couple of years, maybe 4 years back, I said, in as much as they gave us COVID in 2019 and all that clip that I used to pay attention to, Caribbean tourism is dead in the water, going forward depends on what happens in Europe and America. That was our wake-up call, Quint, because the resources of Africa and the growth of Africa, we have access to it. Now, let us forget all the modalities and the tapes and as to if the Africans is going to give us this and that. But let us look at something that they put in the scripture, Quint. I think it's in the book of Deuteronomy. I stand to be corrected. It says, in the last days, God is going to gather back those that were scattered, those who were taken by boats with chains around their neck, back up into the land of their forefathers. Then it begs the question, well, how this biblical God is going to take back up those who were scattered, back up into the land of their forefathers. Then when you look at the text and when you examine through history, who was taken by ship, Quint? Who were trained and taken by ships? It is us. So how this biblical God is going to gather us back up into the land of our forefathers? This is why Journey said they used colorful words, and we are stuck within that narrative, waiting for this biblical God to take us back up into the land of our forefathers. I am saying that the resources of Africa, we are entitled to it, Quint. We didn't ask to be taken. Now, for those who say that our ancestors sold us, there might be some truth behind that. But let us look at what they print in this book, that the biblical God who stretched out his hand in the Old Testament, and then you beg the question, well, where is this God with all this wickedness that is happening today? This dragon, this wounded dragon that is trying to colonize the world, and mostly Africans. I mean, guys, what is wrong with us? And Quint, I am not being weak here. I am not being bitter. I'm not even emotional anymore. It's my desire for us to recognize the mystery and burn the misery. And we cannot do it unless we are united and become knowledgeable of who we are. Because, Quint, I asked you a couple of days ago, and young Katensia and the public, can you name your parents, your grandparents on your left hand from the small finger to the thumb? We cannot name them because we were cut off. We were interrupted by the violators on this planet, Quint. Some of us have become like them. But where are we in all of these events that is taking place? Where are our politicians? And Quint, again, let us refrain from calling our politicians leaders, because they're not leading. Oppression has become comfort now. And these are the things that we need to get away from. Thank you for hearing me, Quint.
Okay, the time is 26 minutes moving away from the 8 o'clock hour. Let's take a bit of a commercial break and we'll be right back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Oh, I've got this feeling to high five the sun. dance in the rain and have my scoop of fun. I'm on my way to flavor my day with something new, and I've got room for you. Let loose and live a little, get close and share a little, give in and taste a little. You'll fall in love with creamery novelties of life, and live a little, get close and share a little, give in and taste a little. You'll fall in love with creamery novelties.
Enjoy Creamy Novelties Ice Cream, distributed by Rams Trading. Live a little.
Caribbean numbers come and play. Just one single dollar, that is the way. You can pick one number or two or three. I win up to 20,000, you see. 3 ways to play, 3 draws a day, 3 ways to win. Hear what we say. Caribbean numbers is the easiest game to play.
The new Caribbean numbers.
So play today.
At any Caribbean lottery agent island-wide.
So play today.
If you need protection, you'll need one who you can trust to secure your investment. You'll need one who'll do you just. TDC Insurance, you're the one that you can trust. TDC Insurance, you're always safe with us.
TDC Insurance is your go-to insurance company for all your insurance needs. We take pride in offering you the best solutions and ensuring our customers are fully satisfied. TDC Insurance, we take good care of you, guaranteeing you peace of mind.
You're always safe with us.
What are you doing?
She said, drink a rude boy, I will do the work. You don't have to wind up yourself. You don't have to wind up yourself. Oh. She said, drink a rude boy, I will do the work. You don't have to wind up yourself. You don't have to wind up yourself. Oh. Cause when we out and we active, living we life. So when we drink, we drinking. Rude boy. So when we drink, we drinking. Rude boy. Oh, Miss Lady, anyway you see we are we building up our vibes. So when we drink, we drinking. Rude boy. So when we drink, we drinking. Rude boy. Why?
And welcome back, and we go straight to the telephone lines. Hello, caller. Good day, and how are you today?
Well, good morning.
Good day.
And greetings once more to you and your audience in Jesus Christ's name, the only Savior of sinners from their sins and from hell, by the gospel only, through faith only, according to the Bible only. Now, I went back and I listened to yesterday's program that me and Africa did in your studio at WinFM, and I realized I kept making a certain mistake, and I didn't know how I didn't catch up on it. In speaking of Jesus' genealogy, I kept saying, but I said more than once, Mark and Luke. Mark and Luke. No, it should have been Matthew and Luke. Not Mark, but Matthew instead of Mark. So Matthew and Luke. And I didn't know how I didn't pick up on that mistake, but I said, let me come this morning to correct that mistake. Also, I would like to say, God did instruct the Israelites to sacrifice lambs and goats, And also yesterday when I said that it is against the Bible for us to lose self-control, I think that is one of the reasons why the Bible condemned drunkenness as well. And to be consistent with that interpretation, it would only be logical to see that hypnotism is also wrong and sinful as well, because under hypnotism you lose control of your mind to the control of someone else, and I think ultimately to demons.
Yesterday in your discussion, there was a part that Africa brought in when he said that the women, you know, getting into the spirit and speaking in tongues and acting a certain way that it was he said that it was authentic, it was genuine. Well, I'm not going to say that perhaps some of them might not be genuine and or authentic, but I don't feel all of them are, right? I
I agree with you.
I know this from my own experience growing up in the church and seeing some of the peoples who got into the spirit, seeing them before they got into the spirit,
quote unquote got in the spirit, quote unquote got in the spirit,
and seeing them after they got into the spirit, and comparing how they were before, what they did and said before, how they acted when they were in it, and then how they acted after and what they did and said after. And I'm always one who analyzes and comes to conclusions. So no, and like you, I believe that one should always carry themselves in a respectful manner. And some of the things that I saw in these churches when I was growing up, it was absolutely despicable. I mean, why would your God want you to throw yourself down on the bench and contort yourself in certain ways that things that you wouldn't want, things that you wouldn't want exposed normally you expose. I mean, come on, just.
Quint, I saw the same thing too, Quint, and others they laugh like a hyena, make all kind of silly noise, and that ain't God. Lack of self-control, the Bible warned you against, and not only that. What appears to me as well is having a one-man upship, in the sense that, you know, you go on with these things that that's supposed to be under the spirit, and somebody is going to come and show that they're more under the spirit and go on worse than you.
Yeah. In other words, you'd be surprised at what people will do to be a part of something. You understand? People wanting to outshow each other, and I mean, look, I to each their own. So if it's good for you, you do it. You understand? But
don't say it is of the Bible. Don't say, because the Bible condemns lack of self-control and going on like you're mad or idiot or something like that.
And I myself, as a young man, you know, having respect for females and their body, I felt, man, that wasn't something that was becoming. No. And if you go on the internet, you will see where they'll show you a lot of clips of these people in these churches, you know, doing all kind of crazy things, and they add effects to them, because some of the things that they show you these people are doing, you know, they can't actually do them, because you actually see them running up walls and doing all kind of somersaults.
Well, and no, running on chairs and benches and so that is real. Even
but when you see them running up walls and so forth, but the point is this: you've done this, and rather than people taking you serious, they have you as such a mockery that they're making a laughter of it around the world.
Yes, and it make the church even look more and more foolish.
Foolish, yeah, it does.
Yes. And the point with Trump and that sort of stuff. Okay? Now, you know, Trump is just pure madness, okay? There's no maybe about that. Trump is just pure madness. But just this morning, I was watching a clip with one of his former strongest supporters, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You know her, right, Clint?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was formerly one of his strongest supporters. And suppose you hear how she now turning around condemning Trump. I mean, Trump fooled them, he deceived them, and that sort of stuff.
She was
should have known that from the beginning.
She was one person I would have never thought she would have turned against Trump, because back in the early days, I mean, she used to say some crazy things, and I used to wonder if she was intelligent, because some of the things that these people say are so far-fetched that you wonder. But it's good to see. It's good to see that she has some sense of morality and you know,
Yes,
other
yes,
ways.
yes, yes. And I would say to finish off, I would say people. The Bible says righteousness is what exalts a nation, and sin is a reproach or destruction unto any nation. And that if you, as an individual and also as a nation and so on, if you is on God's side, then that is evidence that God is on your side, and He will fight your battles against you, even against Trump. And trust me, Trump and the whole world put together can beat God. And no matter how small you are as a nation or country, once you are on God's side, you are on the winning side, you know. I believe God raised up Trump to, just like how He raised up Hitler, Nero, Pharaoh, and so, to do his will. I believe He's doing the same thing for Trump, raise him up to do His will, to bring nations to their feet to God by using the evilness and wickedness of Trump. Thank you very much, Quinn. All the best.
Okay, same to you. And if you wish to call in and air your views, the numbers are 466-0989, 662-0989, 762-0989. In the UK, 033-344-0065. In the US of A, 718-285-6984. In Canada, 305-921-4619. And I look forward to hearing other voices, and I'm rather amazed, you know, for some of the complaints I used to hear in the earlier days about people not being able to get in, and now and again I go back to make this statement that, you know, people say, oh, well, you know, Greg is always there, or this person is always there, and they're hugging the line, and I want to make some input. And so where are you now? What has happened in the whole wide world? Hello, good day, caller.
Greetings and love.
Yes.
Mighty.
Not mighty, just Quint, a humble
You
individual.
know what I mean?
Just like you.
Yeah, you just moving him, the mighty queen, you know?
Yeah, you have a song, the Mighty Queen, also. Yeah.
Oh, true. Yeah, following upon what Greg just said, you know what I mean? What is the purpose of life? Why are we living? You know what I mean? Why did God create man? You know? I mean, a lot of the time we abuse the things in the Bible. I don't know why, you know, before we try to oversee it, right? But we knock it a lot. And we're not getting like the message where you bring, you know what I mean? What is the purpose of life? Why are we here? Are we here to just gather riches, big house, cars? I mean, where we are live? You know what I mean? I don't believe we are living just for these things, which is what the Bible would call it, vanity. You know, I tell you, the destruction of your soul is the love of the vanity. You know what I mean? And as far as I see, all of these things here, oh man, create for, they end up over in the landfill.
Yeah.
You know, you want a house, you want this, you want that, but in the end, all they need is nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See, and it show you, you will lose your soul over it. It show you that.
I learned a lot from when I was growing up, from looking around. One of the biggest lessons we can learn is by looking around life and looking at other people, seeing how they live, and asking yourself, am I that way? Do I have the potential to be that way? Will I wind up that way? And certain other things. And when you see those things and you ask yourself question, then you can shape your life.
You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you see, because we're living in a time now, it's like a time of confusion, right?
Yeah.
We say, well, the politician, and you know, I mean the politician. No, in my observation, I see all governments as one, right? Because they work in a networking way, right?
It's true. That's
as
true.
Government.
Yeah.
Now we see today a whole heap of confusion where governments are concerned. You have you have the United Nations as a global organization where nation of the world come together so you don't go war and confusion. You know, you can sort out things within the gathering.
Yeah.
But today you see, well, Trump farm his own United Nations, the Board of Peace, right? This is confusing, you understand? So the whole thing where you see go on now is the expanding of the confusion. So people going to be confused. In the telling of the scriptures, in the prophecy, people going to believe a liar more than they believe the man who talking the truth.
Well, that's
you understand?
true. That's true.
Just because of confusion, people are confused. They know that live.
But
they live
forget. But
yes,
caller, confusion is part of the plan, you know. It's
exactly.
part of their plan. It's part of their plan. You understand?
And we're picking it up. You see, we're not picking. You see, we're the people them. Because if you confuse, it's easy to mislead. You know?
That's it. That's it.
You understand? And looking at the prophecy, it talk about the mark of the beast. I see that they come full speed, right?
Look how confused we are, right? Look how confused we are. Look at our young men and look at how they dress. And they don't have a problem with it, you know? Yeah. Exposing. Look, if anybody is supposed to expose anything, it's supposed to be a woman, right? And even a woman is supposed to know how much she exposes and where and when she exposes. But look at our young men exposing their behind and feeling proud about it. That is part of the confusion. Look at our women. The Creator made them. Look at our black women. The Creator made them beautiful black women with everything that they need to make up their beautiful, shapely autonomies. And they don't like their eyebrows, so they go and they buy eyebrow. And they're prouder of the eyebrows that they buy and put on than what God made them with. They don't like their kinky, curly hair, so they hide it. And they go and they buy hair, they put it in, and look at them, see them. Sometimes it annoys me. They come and they sit down, and you see them moving the hair and showing it back. And I'm thinking to myself, babes, you mean you're prouder of that fake hair than you are of what the Creator made you? So all of it is part of the confusion. The confusion. Yeah.
See? Because just being living, I mean, it's like, the greatest riches is life, you know what I mean? And for we to live life, we must live according to the law of life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that is what the Bible tries to reveal unto man. Yeah. You know what I mean? But we just consume with the agenda of Babylon bring grass, and we want to be like the next Bill Gates, you know, we want to get all when you don't bank up all of that. You know, if you're going to live to see tomorrow,
you understand?
You know what I mean? So we don't gonna control over certain things. Just seek ye first the kingdom of Jah, and everything after that. You must have life to enjoy the things them where you seek for. If you don't have life, I know on a health, you can't enjoy nothing.
But you know that's a very good point, because look at how we struggle for certain things. We make all the sacrifices. We cut down on eating properly, we grab a bite here and we grab a drink there, and we accumulate all this wealth and the riches, and then next thing we are sick and we are gone, and someone else enjoys what we worked hard for.
I see what Joshua, right, to give to man is eternal life, but for you to live eternally, right, you have to live by Allah.
Yeah.
You see, everything in creation follow Allah. See, and we're not taking the time to suss these things out, you know what I mean? We just, it's a Babylon agenda we follow, which is the ways of death and destruction. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, until we people, you know what I mean, until mankind, you know what I mean, would realize these things here, we are going to perish, you see, because we live in it right now in the time of the beast are going to set up, right? You see it clear. You know what I mean?
You see it gradually.
Russia and America. We think Russia and America and China is enemy. They're not. They are one. All of them are one. See? But they come across and they make a long time Russia and America was to fight war, you know. See, up to now, they're not fighting a war because they're not supposed to fight war, but it's to make you believe that they're supposed to fight war.
Well, I disagree with you on that. I believe that they're enemies, but I kind of agree with what you're saying. I believe they're enemies, and here's why. Here's why they're enemies. Because man begrudge other men, people begrudge people, and this is why. This is why I will quicker lean towards Russia than the West, because if you go back in history And you see, Germany and so forth caused the First World War, Second World War, and this and that. And look at where Russia has been. All of them have been trying to divide Russia and break up Russia. Russia never declared itself an enemy against the U.S., you know. What happened is after the World War, because Russia has certain mineral wealth and certain superpower things where they can get the minerals to make atomic weapons and that kind of stuff. The West has decided to encroach on them and see if they can win them over so they can control that. And Russia has been trying to survive. They are enemies, but here's where I agree with you. If it ever comes down to where they have a war against us of the darker shade, I assure you that I think they will unite against us.
Yeah, but Quinn, well, sure, you see this board of peace which Trump put up.
Look,
I don't. Billions of $1 billion to what Trump doing. You know, what I mean, it's part of the confusion.
Look, I hear you and I agree with you. But this board of peace, I feel that no sooner than Trump exits, this thing is going to crumble. You understand? That's what I feel. Because the UN that you spoke about in terms of supposed to be there to stop war, the UN has been I mean, I'm trying to find a nice word.
Compromise, you know.
Look, compromise is too nice. The UN has been non-existence as far as I'm concerned, because when you have a body, if you have a board of directors that is supposed to oversee how a corporation runs, and that board of directors allows the company to go here and there and fall into deficit and have all kind of problem, and all the people on the board do is say, well, you need to shape up, and rhetoric, and the company falls lower and lower. What use is that board? And that is the role that the UN has played. Trump has just shown them for what they really are.
Yeah. All it is just to control the minds of the people, you see? And that is why I say, like, that is the strategy. This body, we have the governments, them, up against the people. Now, when you look at what's going on with ICE up in America, right? We have the people in harass with ID and all of these things. That they're going global, you know. That they're going worldwide, you know. See, that the model they're just setting up there. But is the whole ID... Remember, it's the mark of the beast they're bringing in, you know. So identifying yourself going to become a big thing. And the ID what they're talking about is not no photo ID now up on your phone. You understand? Because, you know, these things can be falsified. You see? So it's all about getting some kind of implant in you. So
have
you
ever,
you know what I mean?
Have you ever seen a movie called Time?
No.
Well, I would suggest you try and find it. It is a movie that shows you a future time where you have this chip in your arm, and that chip determines how long you live, right? And
sure.
and if I for instance have X amount of time, the chip is always running down. And if I have X amount of time and I bump into you, I can pass my wrist over yours and give you some of my time and so forth. But what the story shows you is that there are some rich people who have there was this particular man who had so much time and had lived so long that he wanted to just die. But no one would kill him and whatever. But you were seeing, there was this particular guy and his mother was going from one point to the other, and she realized that she was running out of time, and he was trying to run toward his mother to see if he could at least give her some of his time so she could, and she couldn't make it, and she fell down and she died, right? And this is where they're heading, you know.
Exactly.
We better be careful. We're taking this thing trivially. Mind you, this is science fiction and it's far-fetched. It might not be exactly that way, but that is what they're wanting to do. They're wanting to control every aspect of every individual.
Exactly, you see? And we have to wake up to realize that every man equal. He's not a man above the next man.
That's it.
See? No man got no extra part that, you know what I mean? We're equal, but you see, we follow in the vanity trail.
Yeah.
See, and we have to perish in it. Just,
And one of the
show us these things, you know what I mean?
one of the main reasons why we follow it and we will fall for it easily is because of our comfort level. We have reached a level of comfort where we can go and we can do certain things, and they will threaten that comfort level, and rather than understanding what they're trying to do, we're going to start pick against each other, divide, break up everything, and that is where they're going to be able to succeed, because rather than seeing what their intentions are, because we want to continue with the level of freedom and luxury that we have, we're going to start ratting on each other and informing, doing all kind of things.
Rastafari. That what you say now. Yeah, I said, yeah. This is time to turn to Rastafari. Rastafari creation way. Go back in your normal way. Go back in your normal zone. Your laws govern everything in our nation. Right now, the only law we follow is man-made law. Them the law. We don't care about the law, but God put down for man. See? And that is where we fall in sharp. You understand?
Yeah.
Once we follow in the Babylon system law, we're born for perish, because we thinking is about his vanity them, which can pass away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
Okay.
give thanks for the time.
Yes.
Rastafari
Okay. Thank
like
you.
this.
You take care. And we're going to take a bit of a commercial break. I did see another individual at a certain point trying to call in, but I didn't want to entertain that call because I wanted to be able to take a commercial break. But when I come back, you can get in and say whatever it is you want to say.
Found the sound 98.9 FM.
Come, build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers. We don't just sell materials, we help you build your dreams. Whether it's a new home, a renovation, or DIY project, we're here to make it happen. That's why we say, build with us. From foundation to finish, come to our stores where we have the best in building materials, hardware, tools, paints, expert advice, and more. Whatever you need, you can count on us. So if you're ready to get started, build with us. With Hostels Building and Nevis Centers, you're not just building a structure, you're building a future. Let us help you create something amazing. Dream with us, plan with us, grow with us, build with us. Come build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers today. Build with us at Hostels.
The holidays just got a whole lot brighter with the new $5 Holiday Stash scratch ticket. It's easy to play, packed with $1,000 prizes and many chances for you to win big this holiday season. So go ahead, treat yourself, spread some cheer, and stack some cash. Play Holiday Stash today at Caribbean Lottery agents and vending machines island-wide. Must be 21 years and older to play. Please play responsibly.
Everything you want, everything you need, got the taste you love, anywhere that you may be, is the Caribbean flavor. Shirley biscuits make me happy.
Shirley got it all about the flavor. Shirley never let me down. When I lime it at the beach on the town, Shirley biscuits always feel like home.
Everything you want, everything you need, got the taste you love, anywhere that you may be, is the Caribbean flavor. Shirley biscuits make me happy.
Shirley, the Caribbean's favorite biscuit.
Caribbean numbers come and play. Just one single dollar, that is the way. You can pick one number or two or three. I win up to 20,000, you see. 3 ways to play, 3 draws a day, 3 ways to win. Hear what we say. Caribbean numbers is the easiest game to play.
The new Caribbean numbers.
So play today.
At any Caribbean Lottery agent island-wide.
So play today.
And I'm back with you. The time 8:56. And like I said, if to that individual who was trying to get in before, feel free to do so anytime now so that you can express whatever it is that is on your mind. And like I said before, we look forward to hearing new voices and hearing your opinion. There's a whole big wide world in existence. There's so much going on, and don't tell me you don't have an input. So feel free to make your input. Hello, caller.
Yeah, Quint, quickly. Now, your conversation with the I before the break, we talk about laws, right? Now, yes, we are under the laws of man, which is man. But I think we have moved away from a lot, maybe because of the whole system, and this is why I sometimes like, through conquest and the rule by the gun. We need to ask, where would they be without their guns? Because you see, let me say this, Quint. Before guns and barrels, before blood and ink, Africans were in harmony with the universe, the laws of the universe, and the laws of nature. And this is where we have moved away from. Everything that we need to know, we can learn from nature. Because they even put it in the book. They quote the snake that Moses lifted up on the pole, and it says, go to the ants for wisdom.
Hold a second. There's another caller also. Hello, caller. Let me hear your voice. At least know who you are.
Yes, Quint, it's me.
Okay, you're gonna let Journey.
Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead, Journey.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is this, Quint. The violators of the laws of the land, Quint, their footprints are on the earth. And these are the people that the Bible referred to as the principalities in high places. And this is what guys, let me just look at what they have done to Mother Earth. They have polluted and corrupted the earth for their selfish greed. And again, they have used the minerals, the resources of the earth to make their weapons of death. Now, where would they be without their guns? Because, as the clip you played, the guy, look at Africa. Where has Africa imposed any boots outside of Africa? America have 200 and something plus boots all over the earth. And that is for what? To protect those people? The answer is no. And then they're going to tell you, should you interfere with our interests? They're going to do this and they're going to do that. So where are we?
Bear in mind there's another caller waiting, okay?
All right, Quint. I'll leave it there.
Okay. Hello, caller.
Yes, good morning, Quint.
Good day to you, and how are you today?
Okay, yes, I guess. A bit distressed by what's happening in the world.
Myself too, yeah. All of us, we should be concerned. Yeah.
Well, we more so than, I think, the young people, because, you see, the thing about young people is that they grow up seeing things as they met them. And so even though there's constant evolution, okay, they're not as distressed as us, the older ones, who knew of a time before and can make the comparisons.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like what you mentioned there about the dressing of the guys.
Yeah.
Right?
And the women also.
And women also.
Yeah.
We grew up in a time where that would have never happened.
Yeah.
Okay? But over time, we've seen standards drop, and that is what we should be concerned about. The fact that the standards seem to be deteriorating rather than improving.
But like the Rasta said, right? It's about confusion, and it's an intentionally incorporated confusion. The sad thing though is that when one inserts a confusion hoping that it affects only one set of people, it comes back and affects them and their people also. Because like he said, we're all human beings. No one is really better than anyone. You came with this classism thing, but when it comes right down to it, we're human beings.
Right. Well, that is true. No one is better than anyone. than anyone. But the thing is, as Johnny just mentioned, he said, where would they be without their weapons? Well, the thing is, they have these weapons, okay, and that is the reality that the rest of the world have to deal with.
Yeah.
Right? And the thing about, the two things about the United States, for instance, which overrides everything else. One is that they are, even though they have their problems and so on, it's a unified country. No, there's no big separatist movement up there. Okay? And two, they were a nation that was born out of the muzzle of a gun, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay? And they did not just use it to get independence, subsequently used it to expand. They were very expansionist. I mean, you know, if you look at the 13 original states and how they became, 50, you would understand that it's in their nature, essentially, to be expansionist.
Yeah.
Okay? They may have been more subtle. Well, I shouldn't even say subtle. Certainly in terms of the continent itself, right? They went after the seas, parts of Mexico. Canada got away until now. They bought up territory. They bought Alaska. They were always expansionists. Okay, so it's no surprise that it may have been innate, and it's now coming to the fore again.
But while I agree with all that you're saying, remember at some point when you made the statement that the world is changing, we asked the question, how do we survive? And I think that we should never forget that salient question, how do we survive?
Yes, and that's true, right? Did I hear somebody say that, he wants his own United Nations, Trump wants his own United Nations, so to speak, the Board of Peace. I haven't seen a charter for that. It would be interesting to see what the charter for that says. But really and truly, I never thought I would live to see the day when empire building becomes fashionable again. Because that's all you can call this, you know.
Yeah.
If you're going to march into a country, threaten a country, and then say straight off that it's now our oil, we're going to run the country, it's now our oil. What's more imperialistic and colonialistic like?
But you see, Mr. McMahon, even though I agree with you, Trump only made it more blatant. But that is what they've been doing in a subtle way. Because when you look at the grip that the West had, the European countries had, and to a certain extent still have on major parts in Africa, where the so-called negotiation is not really a negotiation. It's really they're making demands and they're extracting. And look what they did. They say you're independent, they give you independence, and then they come in your country because they are superpowers, because they have the gun and the threat and the whatever. They make railways and that kind of stuff right to the internal parts of your country, extract the important minerals and whatever that they want, bring it back through those corridors, back to their country, and leave you poor. So, Mr. McMahon, they've been doing it all along. That expansion has been happening, but in a more subtle way. And it seems,
agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Yes, I agree that it was more subtle.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just now being sped up.
Yeah.
I think that is what's happening, because really and truly, you know, they could have waited out Venezuela. You know, Venezuela, they didn't have to go into Venezuela to destroy Venezuela. You know, right? The system that they had there seem to have been imploding. That is why you can't ignore the fact that millions of Venezuelans left there.
But I disagree
Okay?
with you on that.
When people vote with their feet, they vote.
I disagree with you on that because this is what the West wants us to believe. They say they have been imploding. Prior, when Chavez was there, and Chavez was in favor with the U.S., everything was going well. But Chavez realized that this was a one-sided thing. Chavez realized this was no fair bargaining, fair exchange. You're getting my oil for next to nothing. So Chavez even went as far as, I think at one point he said that he would give them a barrel of oil for $50 or something like that, right? He tried to negotiate and they did not want to negotiate. And the man decided, you know what? I'm going to nationalize the things that belongs to me. And when I nationalize it, I'm going to try to get to an agreement with you where you pay me for what you want. And that is where everything started to go down. They started to put sanction on the place. They started to seize the people's monies. And when you do that, internally there's going to be strife. This is where we say they willfully inflict confusion. So they willfully inflicted confusion. The people don't know the politics and neopolitics and so forth. So the people blame their government, but it's them, it's the West that did this. So this is where I disagree with you.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. In the final analysis, that was my point. Essentially, they could have waited him out.
Yeah.
By imposing those sanctions.
But those sanctions were not right in the first place, Mr.
No, they
Muhammad.
weren't. Yes.
Okay.
That's the reality, they were not right.
Okay, I hear you.
You have to deal with the reality. The fact is, as you pointed out, Venezuelans would blame whoever is in power.
That's it.
And in a sense, they are correct.
Yeah.
Because what the policies of who's in power, if it impacts the people in a negative way, they have every right to protest. Okay? And I'm saying that the mere fact that millions of them, Venezuelans, left a way of expressing their
discomfort
at what was happening.
Yeah.
I understand the fact that the sanctions, the freezing of Venezuelan assets and all those, of course that contributed to it. But you see, it always comes back to if you are democratically elected, right, and you have the support of your people, right, this would not happen.
But here again,
they've been able, Quinn, to say, well, they're not a democracy. That has been touted for quite some time, and a lot of the rest of the world kind of fell for it. That they're living under a dictatorship or authoritarian rule, and therefore we have every right to quote unquote free their people. But this time, this facade fell off because Trump wasn't making any joke with what he was about. The mere fact that they don't even talk about democracy now, and basically he did not put in the so-called winner of the last poll.
Yeah.
Didn't just install her. So it tells us
look,
it was not about morality or democracy.
She's a crazy person. Look, when I delve into the history of this woman and I listened to her, and man, this woman, and this is the problem, they're gonna say, oh, this is wrong and Maduro is blah blah blah, and they're going to put somebody there who has said that she will take the wealth and give it to Israel. This is a woman, and it shows you how they set up the world, because they gave her that peace prize for a reason, They gave her a peace prize so that it was to validate her.
Yeah.
Yes, and see how foolish she is.
Wait, hold on. That was really a comment she made, that she'll take the wealth and give it to Israel?
Yeah, go on, search it and... Look, she said, look, I don't even want to try to say some of the statements that she made, but just type in her name and analyze, go through. It's a lot. So you're going to have to go through a lot. You're going to find a lot. Most of it is going to be putting her in a positive light, but you're going to find the negatives that she has created. Okay, but here's the thing: to show you how foolish that she is and how desperate she is for power. She showed the rest of the world the facade. They gave her this Nobel Peace Prize to validate her so the world could say, okay, she got a Nobel Peace Prize. She's a good leader. Put her there. And she so don't have any respect for what they're trying to do for her. She's so trying to live up and kiss up to Trump that she went and gave it to him. And then the very same body that gave it to her, they're now saying to Trump, well, you can't have it because it only belongs to who we gave it to. So even though you might have it in your hand, history will show that was not given to you. And see how she panders to the man.
Yeah. I mean, and when I said the world changed in that Venezuela instance, I can't remember another time when a country would, by force, take over another country and say that, and just take their resources like that, openly, right? Since colonialism. Okay, it's the first time in a long time something like that has happened, where you just go in and barefacedly, without any water in your mouth, as you say.
Mr. McMahon, look, people are taking this lightly, but the more I see things playing out with Trump, the more concerned I am, and the rest of the world had better be with this man. This man is...
Well, before they become concerned, what's going to happen first is that Iran is going. Iran is right in the crosshairs right now.
Yeah.
Okay? And again, the narrative has been put there that Iran is a dictatorship, and therefore they deserve what they get.
But look at all the other places that they went to in recent history and decided that they were this and they were not conforming to what they wanted, and look at how they left them.
Well, Quinn, you see, and I think this is Trump's gut instinct. The world right now, okay, it always had. The world has finite resources, okay? There is a lot of disparity right now between nations into who gets most of these resources. There's a big disparity in things like the standard of living of the West and the South, okay? Even between the West and the East. And the hard fact is, the world does not have enough resources for everybody, all the nations of the earth, to live like how the first world is living. It just don't.
Well, you see, Mr. McMahon,
no time.
You see, Mr.
And
McMahon,
so they feel forced. Yes.
You're finally coming around to what I've been trying to say all the time, because that is what I've been saying. The U.S. and Trump is moving in this way because they're looking at certain things ahead, and they're sort of panicking, and he's moving, and he's very bold with it, and he feels that he's going to get away with it because the more successful he is, others are going to look at what his intentions are, and they're going to buy into it. But even with all of the minerals and all of the oil,
how do you mean buy into it?
Okay, let me show you this example. You see how he started to bomb those ships in the Caribbean?
Right.
And you heard all this rhetoric and nobody wasn't really doing anything. They're just talking.
Yes.
And he continued, and then he sent down that aircraft carrier, and he had it there waiting for a while, and he's making his comments, but he knows what his intentions are. The rest of the world, they're watching, they're kind of seeing where, you think they're not foolish, they're kind of, some of them are seeing where he's going with this. But see what happened. Next thing you know, he goes in, he takes out Maduro, he says blah 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 blah. We're only seeing one side of the picture, Mr. McMahon. The other side of the picture is, let's say that he didn't form this shock with the EU. Let's say he didn't put sanctions on them and they were in good favor and that kind of stuff. They weren't going to be saying anything against what he's doing. It's only when he starts to threaten them and Greenland and he's threatening Canada. So that is what I'm saying. As long as certain individuals aren't threatened, they're going to go along with it.
Well, yes, of course. Okay, I see what you meant. I thought you meant that other nations, large nations, will follow his playbook and start doing as they like as well.
No. They're going to go along with it.
Nations.
Because let's be realistic. Here's a side that people aren't looking at. Right now, the EU is vexed with the US, right? Canada is vexed with the US because they're thinking, but I thought we were friends. We weren't supposed to be being treated like this. But let's say that Trump would say to them, look, if he could make them believe it, look, let's forget all of that and let's be friends again and take off the sanctions and blah, 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 blah. Mr. McMahon, they wouldn't have a problem with what he's doing, because they know they would benefit from it.
Yes. Yeah, well, that's true.
And that is the bigger picture that people aren't seeing.
Well, the thing is, though, when you, as soon as you do that, right, then you set up other tensions because I don't think that the other nations would be content to being just second rate either. All right? They are therefore, what are they, and that's the danger. What are they going to do? As was said, the U.S. has overwhelming military force. What is going to happen is just like what Germany is saying now, like what Japan is saying now, they're going to build up their militaries, okay? And, if they decide that they're going to go nuclear as well, it would be interesting to see the reaction.
But they're going to go. It's undisputed. You
think so?
You know the history of Germany, right? In terms of war.
Right, yes, that's true.
And one of the main reasons why they broke up East and West Germany was to make sure that they stayed divided so that they couldn't bring that vast amount of energy and resources and knowledge that they have together. You're aware of that?
Yeah, I'm aware of what was said at the end of the World War. Basically, the West...
okay, so let's jump...
The Allies were saying it is within our interest. We're not so sure about the breakup, but they were saying it is within our interest to end the war with the armistice lines being as far east as possible.
Yeah.
In other words, even though Russia was part of the Allied front against Germany, even then they regarded Russia as a threat.
That's what I said earlier.
So
let's jump forward now. We know the history of Germany when it comes to war. World War I, World War II. Germany has been in a passive state. And you know why Germany has been a passive state? Not because of their leaders, but because of the people. The people realize the repercussions that they have been going through and still are going through from World War. The besmirchment on their character as a people and blah, 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 right? But because of the threat now that seems to be posing itself, Germany is now saying, okay, we're going to go back there. Again, Japan was part of a world war, you understand? And Japan knew the consequences that they bore. That had so intimidated them that they decided also, we're not going to move anywhere. But now they're seeing a threat that is forcing them back there. Mr.
And that's what makes the whole thing so distressing.
That's what I'm saying.
In other words, we're going back. We're going backwards. We're going back to what was.
That is what I'm saying, Mr. McMahon.
What is happening now? And so you start to wonder, well, is this going to be the continuous cycle of mankind where we're going to have these constant...
Here is what Germany and Japan are saying indirectly. We've got to learn to read between the lines. People are not supposed to have to tell you straight up what their intentions are. You're supposed to be able to be wise enough and psychological enough to. This is what Germany and Japan are now saying. Okay, so you intimidated us, you've had us in this passive state, and you want to do this thing again, and it could wind up being worse. Well, we're gonna send a message to you that beware of how far you want to push us. That's what they're saying, you know.
You think that's it?
That it's not going to happen overnight, Mr. McMahon, but that is their intentions. Their intention is that it's going to reach a point where, however they're going to do it.
So what would their end game be? What is their intent? Because you see,
their intent is survival.
Oh, you call it survival? Because I was going to point out that in the United States case, it's not about survival. To me, it's about, strangely, it seems to be world domination.
And it's about survival too.
No, well, it's gone beyond that because they have the power to take from other nations, right? So we should always beware of whether it's a leader, a country.
I keep telling you, Mr. McMahon, you put too much on the U.S., When people speak, yes, I hear you. They have this vast amount of power, atomic weapons. But you think the U.S. will go in and try to just take over China? You think the U.S. will go in and try to take over Russia, knowing that the kind of world war is going to happen and how it's going to affect not only who they're going after, but also them?
Well, I'll tell you something. And this didn't just start, right? Even under Reagan, they were talking about a shield against nuclear weapons. Trump has revisited that with what do you call it, some golden dome or something like that, defense. And that's where also Greenland comes in. There are people who actually feel that a nuclear war is survivable. People feel so.
Yes, because that's why they build their bunkers and deep underground and blah
right.
blah blah.
And that is also why they're looking at ways to protect themselves.
And this is why, this is why I say, remember what I said. I said Germany reneged from going a certain way, not because of their leaders, because of the people. Because the leaders will always lead towards war, The leaders will look at, for instance, our leaders down here. Let's look at we don't have nothing, right? We're little specks. And yet still our leaders don't feel that we as their people who voted for them deserve them to come and speak to us about anything. They go and they do as they like. And then they come down and they talk down to us. Don't you see the attitude of leaders? Leaders don't care about anything but themselves. Let's be realistic about it.
Leaders come from us, is we tolerate them. So that's on us just as much as it.
But Mr. McMahon, you're not hearing me. That is why I said Germany didn't lead towards war because of not the leaders, but who did I say? The people. Is the people who has been putting pressure on their government and saying, don't you dare. If you dare. And that is what has helped them. But now, because of the world, what Trump is doing, the people will now buy into it, Because it's about survival.
That's another danger. That's another danger.
That's the. So what you're saying, Mr. McMahon. So what you're saying, Mr. McMahon, is that because the U.S. has danger that could destroy the world, and we're supposed to just sit down the rest of the world and let it happen?
No.
Okay.
Who said that? But what I'm saying is, what I'm looking at is the progression from, well, first of all, that we tend for well, a relatively long while, things at least, and you mentioned it, you said that the world was going along and we had problems, but it was going along in a relatively orderly fashion. And then all of a sudden it's changed, okay? We're reverting back to how it was. And so I'm saying that the distressing part of it is that it seems as if we're going in cycles. The progress is not steadily upwards. but it looks as if we're evolving in some kind of situation where we must have some world war every 50, 60, 70 years.
Now, have you
right?
have you researched have you researched the 1 and 2% of people who are the filthy rich and how they benefit from World War One and Two?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
I haven't researched it, but I think that's self-evident.
Okay.
Okay.
These are things that the average person don't know.
But Quinn, the difference between, let's say, World War One, World War Two, and what some people call an impending World War Three, is what? What do you think the difference is?
You tell me. I'm
nuclear
yes.
weapons, the weaponry that is possible to be used.
But Mr.
Okay, because you see, World War One and World War Two were conventional warfare thing. I mean, everybody knew how to make the same kinds of bombs. Everybody had the same kinds of planes. Everybody was almost equal.
But hear this.
No, it is not.
Hear this, Mr. McMahon. Again, I go back to the 1 and 2%. You realize one of the first individuals to come out and be very vocal when Trump went in and he took out Maduro was the Rothschild?
Is the Rothschild came out first?
One of the first, a Rothschild came out and was very vocal, right? Now, let's go back to what you said about some people think that nuclear wars are survivable. The Rothschilds, there are certain names that you hear when you speak about the 1 and 2%, right? There's one that it's right on a bit of my brain, but it's not coming. But anyway, these Rockefeller, that's another one, right? And these individuals, Mr. McMahon, are those who are so wealthy. They already have their bunkers deep underground and this and that, you know. And they have
bunkers are no use to them.
But
if
wait,
the rest of the world dead.
But Mr. McMahon, you see, sometimes you puzzle me, you know, because I know what you're saying, but didn't you just say that when I tried to make a point, didn't you just say that to quell my point, you said there are people who feel that nuclear war is survivable, as if to suggest that certain people don't care if they have a nuclear war.
Right, they feel that.
But now you're saying it doesn't matter if the rest of the world is dead. But Mr. McMahon,
I'm telling you what they feel. I'm not. I don't feel that the world is survivable after.
But Mr. McMahon, have you listened and have you done research to what some of these people who are up in the 1 and 2% have been pushing towards cutting down on world population and decreasing the population of the earth and all that kind of stuff? These people feel that they're only ones who have a right to live, you know. I tell you, we live in a naive world. We don't understand what is happening. I agree with you. The world isn't going to be much of a use if you have these new, because here's what happens. I'm going to take a commercial break, and if anything, you're going to have to call me back in. But here's what I'm going to say before I take that commercial break. Here's the thing that the world must understand. The World War One and Two, as you said, were not the kind of war that we will now have. But what ended World War II was the United States showing that it had atomic weapons and it would use them. Correct. That's one. So now the rest of the world knows, even though we're in an atomic age, the rest of the world knows the U.S. will use those, you know. They have shown it. When they want to...
That was why they used it in the first place.
That's what I'm saying.
They could have bombed a deserted island somewhere,
yes,
some atoll in the Pacific,
so,
and show the Japanese this is what we got.
Okay.
But they chose deliberately to kill all those people.
Yes, and so here's the picture that we need to see and get out of our naivety. The reason why Japan and Germany are now saying they would go that way is this. This is what they're saying. Okay, we know you have it and we know you will use it. We are examples of what you did before. But this time, even if all of us go, this is what is going to happen. Mind you, it's a sad state of affairs, but this is what they're saying, Mr. McMahon, indirectly.
Yes, I know that. I know that. But worse than that, because we can get sidetracked by nuclear weapons only, when in fact we should be concentrating on weapons of mass destruction generally, because that becomes more of a threat. Because those countries who can't develop or would not be allowed to develop weapons of, nuclear weapons, may have an easier time doing things like biological warfare which are outlawed right now.
Now you're waking up to what I'm trying to suggest. You think COVID, let's be realistic, you think COVID was just, why are people experimenting with this kind of stuff? You think it's just, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that is what you're now saying. So let's take that commercial break, okay?
Yeah. Okay then.
You ever hear earthquake call and say, "Hello, Miss Lee, yes, it's me, earthquake, I come in Tuesday around 10? No, sir. Earthquake does arrive unannounced, and when it come, it shake all sense and sensibility out of we. Remain calm, stay inside, and do the DCH. Drop, cover, hold on. Once the shaking starts, you know it's earthquake. Make a quick move to a safe place. Don't run to the door, we are any exit. Stairs might broke up or full of people. Elevator, avoid that, because you might get in and poof, power gone, and you're stuck in that box without ear. Take cover under a strong table or a bed, or crouch against an inside wall or in a corner, and cover your face and your head with your arms. Remember, DCH, drop, cover, hold on. Glass windows and doors, outside walls and doors in an earthquake, bad news. Take care yourself. Most injuries during earthquakes happen when something drop and hit people entering or exiting a building. Last thing, nobody run outside and ask, you feel it, you feel it? Remain calm, stay indoors until all the shaking stop, and do the DCH, drop, cover, hold on.
This message is sponsored by the Australian Government, AusAid, and produced by NEMA in collaboration with WinFM.
And we're back. The time 9:33, and we've been sort of speaking about how do we survive with all that you heard about nuclear threat and the latter part where we actually inserted weapons of mass destruction and that kind of stuff. It's all about survival, you know. And we as a Caribbean people, we've got to take this seriously and understand that if we don't find some kind of way, it might sound impossible, but you got to hang on to some kind of hope. And this is why we keep saying to our leaders, stop being isolationists and find ways to unite. Find ways to unite, even as a body here. Perhaps we can be an example. We've been an example in certain ways to the rest of the world. And perhaps we can be an example to the rest of the world, to the established world, that unity can work and people can live in harmony and survive. But we will not be able to do that if our leaders just keep thinking that they want to get along, go along to get along. It's not going to work. Because people don't respect you when you acquiesce continuously, consistently. No one respects you when they know that you're always groveling and groveling and begging and begging. So the question then is, if we are to survive, because all of this chemist that we're in, this skirmish that we're in, as Mr. McMahon was saying, because certain people, certain developed countries realize, look, with the kind of way we're living, the resources, they are not inexhaustible. So how do we hug it for ourselves? How does the U.S. hug it for itself, or the EU or whoever? This is what it comes down to. But why hug it for yourself? Why not be fair in how you do business while you work out other ways of surviving as a human species? We see other things and other ways to create energy. We have evolving minds. Who knows what the future will be as long as we don't self-destruct? So the question then becomes, because the established developed world is so greedy and wants everything for nothing, and would prefer to stomp on the poor, the very poor who they use either as a machinery or they come into your proximity and extract what really is yours, and all they can do is pay you a fair price. So the question is, if the developed world, can the developed world, the superpowers, learn to negotiate for a fair market price for the commodities that they want? Can they do that? And by extension, can the Caribbean ever learn to unite as one unit? I'm going to play this clip.
Jorge Ardiasa, you were in the room for many negotiations with the United States. Just about a year ago, Trump's on.
Now, I'm going to take it back from the top. This is a clip from an individual who is native to Venezuela, who was once, I think, a foreign minister, and he's having a conversation with someone in the U.S. about certain things, how they played out in Venezuela, and the person is trying to tickle his mind as to how he feels that things can go forward. But in there is the questions that I just asked, and perhaps an arrow that points towards perhaps an answer. So I'm going to take it from the top and listen to this interview with someone who presently lives in Venezuela.
Jorge Ardiasa, you were in the room for many negotiations with the United States. Just about a year ago, Trump's envoy, Rick Grenell, was in Caracas, I believe, negotiating directly with Nicolas Maduro over Chevron's drilling license. And now it looks like negotiations have collapsed, or there may have been negotiations that were interrupted by this military raid. We also witnessed the U.S. end negotiations with Iran by supporting Israel's strike on that country, a completely unprovoked attack. How does this affect your vision and the Venezuelan government's vision of negotiating with the U.S.? Can they be negotiated with in good faith?
I believe that we can respect each other when we sit down around the table and discuss certain topics, and not by barbaric methods and warfare against the peoples of these countries, of our countries, but by sitting down and pragmatically, with principles, trying to reach agreements and respect the agreements. It's not easy to trust the United States, not only during the Trump's administrations. I mean, historically, it's difficult because they never comply. But still, in spite of that, I believe that this opportunity, difficult circumstances, give us a chance to try to civilize the relations with the United States. And we need, our circumstances also lead us to sit down and try to convince the United States, as President Maduro said 1 million times, that we would like to have good relationship with the United States, that we would like to sell more oil to the United States, of course, paying for the oil at market prices, that we would like the United States to invest in minery, that we would like the United States to invest in the Venezuelan economy, but respecting our legal framework and respecting international law. So I believe we have another chance, and we hope that the United States understands this. In spite of also what they have done, I think we have an opportunity, a window to sit down and make agreements that we can both respect.
Presidents Chavez and Maduro gave several speeches focused on explaining to the Venezuelan people what the meaning of the Bolivarian Revolution was. I think about Chavez's 2012 strike at the helm speech. What could you say the meaning of the Bolivarian Revolution is after the kidnapping of President Maduro? What is Venezuela fighting for?
Well, we have a historical confrontation Ours is a region that has been under dispute. We have the Monroe Doctrine from the United States, and we have the Bolivarian Doctrine from South America. We believe that the peoples and the countries of Latin America and the Caribbean should be independent. We should come together in an integration process, and we can establish a civilized dialogue with the other powers in the world, including the United States. But the Monroe Doctrine and the new Trump corollary that was added recently to the security doctrine of the United States believes that we belong to the United States. And they want to annex our economies, our military forces, our cultural system. It won't happen. It's going to be eternal. This dispute can be eternal. So we are very Bolivarians. We believe that we have to be independent, and we hope that the United States understands they have to establish a new kind of relationship with Latin America and the Caribbean, and that we can share the terms that the economy of the world and the system the world establishes. We can share our wealth, our natural resources, but not imposing governments, not annexing countries, not bombing countries, and not controlling governments. No, that's not the way. That's not going to happen. That's not the right way to do things. So we have been in this confrontation for 200 years now. It will probably last some other decades, but at some point this is going to be solved, and I'm sure that Bolivar is going to prevail and Monroe is not going to win this battle.
Donald Trump has threatened to attack again if Venezuela's government does not fulfill his demands. What can Venezuela's military and people do to deter that possibility? And what is the strategic plan from your point of view?
First of all, the most important consequence of this attack is that Venezuela is in peace. Everything is calm. And that's a challenge for us to maintain not only the control, but peace, the economic system producing and activated, classes, universities, jobs, everything going, normality. That's what we are trying to keep. And the response of the Venezuelan people has been with a very high level of awareness of what is happening at the moment. Second thing, we have to make the world and our people first, and the world, that we are in charge, that we are running the country. We have a government that was elected. The president is not here for now. He will come back. But for the moment, with President Delcy Rodriguez as acting president, we are continuing with our plans and with our ideology and defending the Venezuelan sovereignty. That's a second challenge. And the other challenge is we have to bring back President Maduro because he's the president. And we'll make our best in complying with each one of these challenges and objectives that we have.
Jorge Ariasa, thank you so much for joining us at the Gray Zone.
Thank you. Thank you, Max. And I hope that we can have another interview soon and that things are better, not only in Venezuela, but in the whole world, and that the hegemonic pretension of the United States stops, pauses, and understands that a new world has emerged, and you have to respect the world and the peoples when they make such a revolutionary change in the international system.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there you had it, an individual who is part of the governing system in Venezuela, and I couldn't have put it better myself. The poor people and the struggling people, the people who want to develop in the world, they have something to offer. If you want it, why not negotiate in good faith and be genuine in doing business. Now, a lot of you, a majority out there might be saying, oh, listen to him, he's a fool. Trump has the power. Trump will go and snuff them out. Okay, so that might be the case. But you know what is going to happen when that happens? The Bolivarian Revolution is not going to die. There are going to be thousands and thousands and perhaps millions of youth who are going to go along to get along, hoping for that point when they can be in a position to exact revenge. Is this the way we want the world to keep going? We, as a black people, myself included, I have the mindset I have because I'm walking with the strength of my foreparents who didn't just give up, who died so that I could be where I am today. And that is why my mindset is, if it comes to the come to, and it's so I have to forfeit my life. I may be in a minority, yes, but so be it. Let the majority who feel that the only way they can survive into tomorrow is to give in, let them give in and see what it will do for them. Because yes, you will survive, but how will you survive? That's the question you're not looking at. You think you're going to survive continuing the way you're continuing right now with all the luxuries and amenities that you have when you acquiesce to bullies and thugs? Bullies and thugs will trample on you. They will exact from you. They will belittle you. They will call on you when they want you. You will have to jump when they say jump. Well, if that's the kind of world you want to live in, if you feel that's better for you, hey, all power to you. Hello, caller.
Yes. Yes. Now, in the same vein of the Trump issue, but from a different little aspect. Now, the news presented evangelicals as supporting Trump when in his first run. I'm going to go back to his first run. When he was first running for office, the news media presented evangelicals as supporting Trump. What you did not hear was those other evangelicals who were opposing Trump. They were not in the news, but there was a real presence. They had a real presence. And one of the things that they said is this. No, this might seem very trivial. It can seem very trivial to a lot of people, but trust me, for those who have spiritual eyes to see, will understand and will see, and those who have spiritual ears to hear, they will hear. That is very, very, very important. And these evangelicals who was resisting Trump, opposing Trump and his first run, they said, you cannot trust somebody who was unfaithful to their marital vows. And Trump was unfaithful to his marital vows, and they were saying, do not trust a person who was unfaithful to their marital vows. If they biblically repent and they establish a record that they have biblically repent, then yes, you could give them some trust. You could give them some trust. But if they have not done that, do not trust that person, and that included Trump. But a lot of people was not willing to listen, and they picked Trump for the first time, including those evangelicals who were for him and who did not listen to the Bible and its wisdom. They voted for Trump. This time around, and he betrayed a lot of his promise then. He betrayed them a lot then. This time around as well, same thing. He betrayed his promise. And I always say, Quint, I always said, unless that person biblically repent, I will never ever trust a person who betrayed the marital vow, who was not faithful to their marital vows. Because if you ain't faithful to such a serious thing, I cannot trust you. Unless maybe, like I say, you biblically repent and have gave evidence of that. And I'll let Marjorie Taylor Greene and them, yes, they're against it, but they should have seen from the first time around that he was not trustworthy. No, one of the things in the video that I said that's Marjorie Taylor Greene in, one of the things then that she said concerning Trump is that she condemns what he did to Venezuela, to Maduro, to what he's about to do to Iran, and that sort of stuff. And it's a good thing that she have said those things.
Mm-hmm.
You want to say something, Quint?
No, not really.
Yeah, it's a good thing that she have come out and said those things, okay? She condemned it because she said this is not what MAGA is about. She said MAGA, as he used to campaign saying, is about ending these foreign wars, coming out of these foreign wars, stopping these regime changes around the world, and be for peace and that sort of stuff. She said that is what he was saying during his campaign, and that is why they voted for him. But he turned around and doing the opposite. And if they were listening to the evangelicals who were saying you cannot trust him because he was not faithful to his marital vows, they would not end up in this problem as we are in today. Because there were third parties also that they could have voted for. Okay? That sort of stuff. They didn't have to vote for Democrats. There were third parties who were more in line with their thinking than Trump. But even with what he was saying, like I said, and me too, will not trust a person who has not been faithful to the marital vows unless they give biblical evidence that they have biblically repented. Okay, Quinn, take care.
Yeah. I'm going to play a clip that is on a different vein, and listen to this.
The Daily Mail reports that support for digital ID cards has collapsed from 57% when Starmer first came up with the idea to 38%, with opposition now at 47%. Well, I am in that 47%. I'm strongly opposed to digital ID cards. They are a rotten idea and a fundamental threat to our liberty. The idea that we had floated over Christmas, that newborn babies would immediately be given a digital ID, is just as sinister, if not worse. I got a new dog over Christmas, a Dalmatian, and that has to have a microchip in it. Horses have to have a microchip in them. Perhaps next, babies will have to have a microchip in them to go with their digital ID, because what you can track, you can trace, and what you can trace, you can control. And that's why governments want to do this. It is not that they wish to provide us with marvellous services. It's not to make using the NHS easier. It is about control. Just think of the farmers' protest on the budget day. Just before they arrived, they were told they weren't allowed to bring their tractors. Some of them ignored this and bravely brought their tractors into the centre of London. How much easier would it have been to stop them if they had digital IDs and could be traced, stopped safely away from where they wished to protest? The opposition to a bad law, on which the government has now U-turned, could have been further reduced and watered down by aggressive control, because once they can track, they can trace, and once they can trace, they can control, and therefore stop the protest, denying the people who are opposed to a particular policy the publicity that turning up in their tractors brought them, and indeed the public sympathy they got when the police started arresting farmers for being in tractors. So ID is about control, it's not about being helpful. And why should you worry about control? Well, it's in the nature of governments to use the powers that they have. Think of the enormous increase in fines issued to motorists for very minor speeding offences, for doing 20-odd miles an hour, 24 miles an hour in a 20 zone, zones that historically were 30 miles an hour. This was never possible when a policeman had to stop the individual and the individual had to be taken through the magistrate's court. It wasn't worth the effort. It was disproportionate to the offence that was being committed. But now the government has managed to digitise it. It goes through on the nod. Nobody notices. The only inconvenience is caused to those families where somebody loses his or her driving license, and businesses are affected. It's done in secret court so that nobody knows about it. It's all about the convenience and money making of the state, not about road safety, not about improving the quality of our roads, not about making the road surfaces any better, using the money for that. It's about taking money from an easy and soft target. You see the same with HMRC, which is moving to making tax digital. Making tax digital is a means of squeezing more money out of individuals who are perfectly legitimately paying their tax. Why is HMRC so insistent upon IR35? It's because it thinks taxpayers are always trying to cheat them. The dead hand of the taxman thinks that you are trying to cheat him, and therefore it must control you and it must have more information on you. And digital ID will be used in this way. It will be used to find out what people are up to. We hear that drones are going to be used to fly over people's gardens for the valuations for the mansion tax. Further intrusion into people's private spheres, further state activity justified by the convenience of the state that yet once again takes liberty from individuals. And if you don't believe me, think back to the lockdown. The constant push was for more control, to put more restrictions on people and to monitor them more carefully. Just imagine how easy it would have been to control you if you'd had a digital ID. Think of track and trace when every time you went somewhere you had to write down your telephone number. But if I'd had a digital ID, that wouldn't have helped me. Or if I'd been registered on the NHS app that you could click on with, I would have been stuck with people knowing precisely what I did. And I didn't want to be part of that. I didn't want to be tracked and traced. I didn't want to get bossy messages from the government. Digital ID, they would have known everywhere that you went, that hour of exercise that you were allowed to take. They'd have been able to tell. Think how much more oppressive lockdown would have been had the government known all of that. And that's why digital ID is such a bad idea, because it is not about the convenience of the individual, it's about the convenience of the state. The state is there to help individuals lead the lives they want to lead. I don't think it's there to tell you how to lead your life. I don't want digital ID there to monitor your electricity and your gas usage, to tell you that you're not being very green, or to monitor how much you put out for recycling on the same basis. I don't want it to tell you that you've bought an extra bottle of gin when it's Christmas and that may not be good for your liver. That is not the type of state I want. And the only way to stop the state getting like that is simply to stop it having the power to do it. If it doesn't know where you are or who you are, it finds it much harder to control you. To defend our liberty, we can't allow the argument of efficiency to outrun, to outgun, to override the argument of liberty. Liberty must come first and efficiency second. So let's keep on campaigning against digital ID. Let's rejoice that there are some good polls coming out. Let's keep on putting the arguments that it is not for the individual's interest, but for the state's interest. Try and live your life without a digital ID if it comes in, because my guess is that a new government would abolish it anyway, as happened to Tony Blair's short-lived ID card.
Yeah. So I jumped off on that tangent because this morning when I was speaking to the rest, we touched a bit on that, where is the world heading? And often they come and they say, this is for your ease and access and your comfort, but they don't tell you the underlying reasons. And you know what is very interesting about that individual who you just heard? The interesting thing about him is that he should know how politicians think, because he is a former politician. One of the reasons he stepped away from politics was because of some of the things that he saw politicians trying to implement that would not only affect the wider society, but would affect him and his family also. And he decided, you know what? I'm not going to be a part of this. I'm going to step away from this. And so he stepped out of politics and let the people know what is happening and how how the politicians are thinking on the inside. You can hear from his accent. Yes, this was an individual who had been elected to the British Parliament. And you know the old saying, if a fish comes from the sea and it tells you something, are you going to disbelieve it? So when a politician decides to abscond or move away from politics because he doesn't like the shenanigans that they're playing on the inside, and down here in the Caribbean we're hearing about, oh, you know, it's so easy to get a chip and I tell you, be careful of what your comfort will allow you to tolerate. Hello, caller?
Yes, Quinn. That clip you played was so consistent with something I read earlier this morning, where they said that dictatorships now are not the same, will not take the form of dictatorships in the past. Dictatorships in the past, they'd use brute force to control.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, with things like digital ID and those sorts of things, it's not necessary to use brute force.
No.
And the thing about it is, it is so subtle.
So subtle
that people don't even realize what's happening.
Yeah.
Because of course, digital ID would make certain things easier, simpler for citizens. But there's a downside that then people don't look at.
Yeah.
Or they are not aware of. You know, you don't see, for instance, I mean, if your phone is tapped, you don't know that it's tapped.
Yeah.
And so, for you, it's business as usual.
Imagine the part where he says, imagine you order extra bottle of gin, and someone is gonna query that, or someone says you're not living green, and every aspect of your life they're gonna now know, you know.
And that is so against the human instinct of being free.
Yeah.
You know, so obviously there will be pushback against it. Okay, it's unfortunate that, you know, it goes to the fact that we always seem to adopt these things willy-nilly.
Yeah.
They come from overseas.
Yeah.
And do not think of the consequences, or don't even think of our peculiar situation in St. Kitts and Nevis, without adopting these things. You know, oh, it's technology. You have to go along with it.
Just imagine, a few of our Caribbean leaders going to a forum, you know, to get a loan or whatever, and they push, as they usually do, this documentation in front of you, and that's one of the things to sign on. And next thing you know, our leaders come back and they're telling us, you know, this is good. This is going to enhance your future. It's going to make it so easier for you. You won't have to.
Yep. There's that tendency I find in especially the current crop of leaders.
Yeah.
They don't think for themselves. You know, they go to these places, get overwhelmed and mesmerized by the people they see and what they see and so on, and they just come back and come back with the usual buzzwords and so on, and start to implement without actually thinking, okay, look at what's out there, but does it need adapting for our particular situation?
Yeah.
Right? Do we really have to do this? Because each time they do that, they make themselves more dependent.
That's it.
On outside.
That's it.
Right? There's a cost to it as well.
And hear this. A lot of the things that they're forcing us to, they're telling our leaders to buy into, and our leaders are coming and just buying into it. The point you were just making before. Look at us, a small society. You could kind of understand where you have these massive amount of millions of people and you want to, you know, but look at us, a small little economy, small amount of people. We don't need this kind of thing.
It all goes back to, remember when someone said that what do you really need the latest iPhone for? When two steps down could do just what you need. You don't use the power of the latest iPhone. And it's a similar thing in this case. If you don't absolutely need it, sure, there are some things that certainly would be helpful for us.
Yeah.
But take those on board. But don't just come willy-nilly and just
Let me
make yourself.
let me show you a hypothetical using the iPhone. Like I said, not too long ago, some time ago, a young fellow showed me a phone that he had, an iPhone, and I asked him how much. He was boasting about the things that it could do, the features, and so I asked him how much it cost. He said, he looked at me, he said, 4,000, almost 5,000. Okay, now logically, this is not the first iPhone that he has had, because the people who are into Apple, they try to, as soon as something new come out, they try to gravitate towards it. So that's $4,500. So let's say 3 years ago he had a phone that was $2,000, right? Then they upgraded 3 years later, and he got this one that is 4,500, right? That's 6,500, right? In the next 3 to 4 years, he's going to upgrade, right? Maybe the next phone is going to cost him 5,000, okay? Right? Now, that's 5 and 4, 9, 11, $11,500, right? Next thing, he gets sick. He has an ailment. He wants some money to go abroad, but he's broke. So he and his family are now going around trying to get people to donate, or they're looking for. You understand the things that we do?
And the first thing that they're not gonna they won't look at is, well, sell the iPhone, because he doesn't need that one.
But that's going to only be the last one, and this is the thing that people don't look at. When you're forced to sell something under duress, you have to cut down on the price. So you're not going to sell it for the 5,000 you bought it for.
Oh, listen. The hardest thing in the world is to convince people of these kind of bad habits.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. They can tell you, mind your own business. This is my money. I do what I want with it.
Yeah.
It's my life. I live it how I want. Don't. This is a young people thing.
Yeah. Until your health is compromised and you need money and what are you gonna do? Die? Hold a second.
Young people are indestructible. That don't happen.
Hold a second. Hello, caller.
Greetings again, Queen.
Yes. Greetings.
Man, give thanks for the clip you play, Rasta.
That you're talking about.
For something, right? It's not that I'm against digital ID, digital anything.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're going to make it the only option,
yes,
that is the problem. We must have choices. Who want to go digital, you go digital. Who want to just, you know what I mean? That is where we are, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The ability to choose for ourselves.
And you're so right, because Mr. McMahon, that's what they do. They bring it and they say, it's this or else.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah.
But that's it, Queen. Give thanks, man.
Okay, then. Take care.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's always a good thing if you have choices.
Yeah.
Okay? Because not all choices work out good for you, for you.
Yeah.
So you must have something to fall back on.
Yeah. Hello, caller.
Yes, Queen?
Yeah.
It's me again. This digital thing, okay? By the way, before going to that, let me say, when I said Trump was not faithful to his marital vows, I'm talking about the wife that he had before this present one.
Yeah, we know that.
He was not faithful. Yeah, I meant his previous wife. No, this digital thing that you think about, you play a clip about, this digital thing is very serious, because people have been locked out of their bank accounts by government, especially and it happened in Canada, and it happened in the US, and I think in Europe too.
Yeah, that is
people
what
have been locked out of their bank accounts.
That is what the narrator was saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They did it to the truckers who opposed the government in Canada. They did it to their accounts when they were opposing the Canadian government over the COVID policies. They did it to a man in America called Scott Ritter, who has been opposing the U.S. government. We did wars, we did to Venezuela, Iran, and the South. So they lock him out of his bank account. And I think I might have heard it might have happened either in England or Europe as well.
Could you imagine that, Mr. McMahon? You see that this
No,
form
Quinn,
of,
take care. All the best to you.
Control,
dictatorship,
control.
this form of
That's what it's
dictatorship.
about. It's
Yeah.
control, right? And like I said, you see it in very subtle forms.
Yeah.
Look at even our government now, right? If you've been following on Facebook, you would realize the number of fake profiles that are there. Well, maybe a lot of you wouldn't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
A number of them are being sponsored by government, right? And is that a good use of taxpayers' money?
You know, good question.
I remember even before this government that's currently in, I remember a commentator raising the alarm about the budget of the prime minister's office. You know, and that's apart from finance and so on, and the other and health and other ministries that he has in.
Yeah.
Just of the prime minister's office, why do you need such a large budget for the prime minister's office? You know, and it's subtle things like these, and then I know too of an instance where it was queried. Someone was testing, I think, the Freedom of Information Act, and wanted to know all the appointments that government have made, not just civil service appointments, all the other embassy ambassadors and boys and those kinds of things, right? And it was blocked. Why do you want it? You have to give a reason. You can't have freedom of information and then talk about and then being able to stall it by asking for a valid reason to why you would want the information and so on.
But
you're a citizen.
You see, people need to understand the tentacles of this thing. It's like it's worse than an octopus, right? Because here is it. You don't agree with something that the system wants to push. Let's say the SSZ, right? And next thing, you're going along your business. You didn't break any laws. All you did was express that you don't agree with this. And next thing you know, your money that you work hard for is frozen.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that?
It's always about controlling the narrative, controlling people, controlling how people view you, how they vote, everything.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, people at some point, there will be a backlash against things like that. People don't really realize it now because, it's kind of softly kind of approach to it. And most people don't pay attention to those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But don't tell me, you pay taxes. You should be concerned about how your tax money is spent.
Yeah.
Right? You know, we have to get to that stage where people react to those kinds of things, because otherwise you get what's happening now with Trump. Where things are just imposed on you, and by the time you realize, it's too late.
Let's hope that the few people who speak on these issues on different forums, people are enlightened enough to be aware of the potential of what could happen.
Right.
Because
at least they can't say they didn't know. Nobody said anything.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But more than that, though, it should come into play when they are choosing leaders, because it's the leaders who do these things.
Yeah.
Right. So you should be very careful how you choose your leaders. Right. And people always vote on the information they have, or the lack of information that they have. If you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
If you don't know something is bad for you, you don't know. You know, so you take it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right then.
Yeah. Thanks for your input as usual, and as always, I really like the fact that there's a Mr. McMahon. I wish there were a few others. Like occasionally there's Sylvine, who will make an input. Because I want to be able to have a conversation with people who might differ from my perspective, but who I respect, because how they articulate I have to say, okay, I hear what you're saying, you know what I'm saying? So if you're one of those out there, start to be a part of what we discuss, and perhaps we can make it better. A gradual 1 and a 2 here, and then we have good ongoing conversations as they relate to, how we survive. And that's how I'm going to bring an end to Island Tea for today. Tomorrow, hopefully, Cortensia will be in. Until then, do take care. Coming up will be a rebroadcasting of the recent press conference with Mr. Samal Duggins. Okay, so give a listen to that.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
What are you doing?